Greetings, Kaiju viewers! Welcome back to Kaijutopia, with the exciting news of Takashi Yamazaki returning to direct the next Japanese Godzilla film. The question on everyone's mind is, will this be a follow-up to his 2023 award-winning film, Godzilla -1? At the time of this video, we haven't received confirmation. For now, my sequel idea will have to suffice. Sit back and relax, monster fans. Here's my Mothra -1 story pitch. A full decade after the events of Godzilla -1, Japan's economy is beginning to flourish. Shikishima's war may have ended, but his quest for peace is just beginning. As a founding member of the Japan Self-Defense Forces, Shikishima leads emergency rescue operations. His wife Noriko, however, is struggling now more than ever. After surviving the destruction of Ginza, Noriko's recovery was at first seen as a miracle. But when the circumstances of her survival, her harboring Godzilla cells, became public knowledge, she and a small group of other survivors quickly become social outcasts. Everything changes when a newly resurrected Godzilla terrorizes Japan once more, but there seems to be hope. In the wake of Godzilla's attacks, eyewitnesses claim to have seen an angel, a divine being, saving those in their time of need. Over the course of the story, sightings of this mysterious angel become more prevalent. Before long, it triggers a massive movement in the country, with millions congregating to where they believe the angel, whom they call Mothra, will come to grant miracles. Noriko and other survivors with G-cells go to receive Mothra's blessing, hoping she will purge the evil, the curse of Godzilla from their souls. Mothra does indeed arrive. With her followers amass, one of Noriko's friends, a woman who, like her, has G-cells, goes before Mothra to receive her blessing. But when she finally sees Mothra, it's not a divine, beautiful being she sees. No, it's a horrifying monstrosity, a creature that consumes her without remorse. And her death is greeted to thunderous applause. For you see, Mothra's followers didn't see what Noriko's friends saw. No, what they saw her being raptured into paradise. That's because Mothra -1 emits psychedelic pollen, which turns living beings like humans into her passive prey. They see what she wants them to see. But as Noriko comes out and sees Mothra as the monster she truly is, but everyone else is oblivious, Noriko begins to suspect her G-cells, which are a curse, also have an interesting side effect in making her immune to Mothra's mind control. Suddenly, Godzilla arrives. While Mothra's followers see a clash between a demon and an angel, Noriko sees two bloodthirsty, terrible monsters fighting to the death, and the winner will likely destroy and or conquer everyone else. With Shikishima's help, Noriko gets away, but not everyone is as fortunate. Godzilla may be immune to Mothra's hallucinogenic pollen, but his atomic breath instantly ignites when it comes into contact with it. Godzilla is seemingly destroyed by his own atomic fire, and Mothra transforms his carcass into a webbed nest. Too late, the Japanese government and the scientific community discover the sinister truth behind Mothra. The majority of Japan's populace has now fallen under her thrall. Fearing Mothra's mind control, world powers quarantine Japan. But with Mothra's offspring hatching and a brood of ravenous Godzillas emerging from the sea, it seems like the world will soon suffer Japan's fate. Okay, so with a few tweaks, this could easily be its own standalone film. It doesn't have to be a direct sequel to Godzilla -1. This might come as a shock, but I'm not Takashi Yamazaki. In other words, I'm not a highly talented, experienced, award-winning filmmaker. Yamazaki spent years writing the script for Godzilla -1. If Yamazaki is planning on writing a sequel to his magnificent film, I'm sure his treatment, his vision is like infinitely better than mine. Recently, Yamazaki talked about wanting to make a film with Hedorah, so I wouldn't bet my Zella dollars on my Mothra -1 story pitch making the final cut anytime soon. However, I do think this new take has potential. Granted, you could argue it runs counter to Mothra's persona of being a divine kaiju. I'd counter with a simple, why should Godzilla have all the fun? Like Godzilla, Mothra has been around for several decades. We've seen Godzilla go from being a nuclear allegory to a dinosaur superhero to a god of destruction and beyond. It's okay to invert expectations in the name of telling a fresh story, and going all out on making Mothra scary, kind of becoming like an eldritch abomination, some sort of Lovecraftian entity, is something I'd love to see. And hey, it beats seeing her getting vaporized for the millionth time. I like even though Shikishima, the protagonist from Godzilla -1, seems to be limited to a sort of a cameo or a limited role, he is a supporting character in my treatment, and though I do see Noriko as the star here, and for reasons I will get into here soon, I don't want people to think Shikishima is being shafted here. He's still an important, integral character, and if I were to go all out in like writing a script here, I would have him now, since his war has ended, his quest for peace is beginning. I think the peacemaker side of him will still have trouble. I could see him actually becoming more favorable towards Mothra, and maybe even like kind of beginning to succumb to her mind control pollen. But I do think his trust and love for Noriko, and the possibility that he might also have some G-cells himself, could be a factor in helping him resist Mothra's mind control and his quest for peace taking center stage, or maybe being what inspires him to help his wife, his family, find a way to save their country, maybe even the human race as a whole, from these terrible monsters. Okay, I just want to add a little bit more here to the story. So just, you know how earlier I mentioned that eyewitnesses claim to have seen a divine being, Mothra, saving people, you know, in their time of need? Well, it would be interesting if other characters, like a returning character, Kinji Noda, who had like the best hair in the world, it would be interesting if he, leading a scientific division, an investigative team, discovered that those people that were allegedly being saved, well, they can't be found. It's so interesting that, hey, you have all these eyewitnesses claiming to have seen Mothra saving these people from disaster, from upheaval, from Godzilla, but then when you start trying to find out where they are so you can talk to them directly, well, they're nowhere to be found. Wow, what happened to them? I'll tell you what happened to them. Mothra, she ate them. If a sequel to Godzilla -1 is explored, continuing Noriko's story seems like a no-brainer. Much like how real-world survivors of the Hiroshima and Nagasaki bombings were ostracized, so too could people with G-cells. Yamazaki himself likened Godzilla to a tatarigami from Princess Mononoke. Tatarigamis are embodiments of negative energy that malignantly plant curses on human beings. And a curse is exactly what Noriko's scar is. Story pitches aside, Noriko taking center stage in a Godzilla -1 sequel is the best move to make. With G-cells in her body, which may or may not bestow a host of abilities and side effects, and the potential to grow as a character, Noriko's character arc remains the most unexplored. And Godzilla -1, by the way, boasts like the best human cast in a Godzilla film I have ever seen. All of them, every single major character had an arc, they had interesting personalities, and you felt for them, you were cheering for them. And they all had flaws too. But out of all of them, I believe Noriko, her story wrapped up, is what I'm trying to say. In a future video, I'll be exploring how I think Noriko's unique scar might connect with the return of a classic Toho kaiju villain, and how G-Cells might ultimately bring the smog monster into the minus verse, the -1 verse, whatever we're gonna call it. But I'm kind of waiting to see, you know, hey, is the next Yamazaki directed Godzilla film really a sequel to Godzilla -1? I think it is, but time will tell. And once we get that confirmation, expect me to be like, hey, that scar on Noriko's neck, that might be more than just G-Cells here. Everybody, what's your... Do you have a Godzilla -1 sequel pitch? Do you have like a Mothra -1 pitch? What do you think of my story? Do you think there's anything I should change? I want to hear from you. So please let me know what you think. Don't stop stomping. Take care of yourselves. See you later.